morning, guys. Before we get going, I want to introduce you to the newest member of our team. This is Ginny. Ginny is a Cushland 3500 series cement mixer that was given to us as a Christmas present by my mom. And guess what my mom's name is? You got it, Ginny. So to have our mom with us the whole time that we're building this tool shed and also our house, we decided to call the cement mixer Ginny. So Ginny, get to work. Let's get started on cobbing this building.
A lot of people ask us what our recipe is, and the fact of the matter is the recipe varies from day to day and project to project. Typically we start off with about 2 gallons of water. To that we add 2 small buckets of clay, and once that's thoroughly mixed we add a few handfuls of finely chopped straw. We let that circulate in the mixer for a while until it's all finely coated and incorporated, and then we add to that a 5-gallon bucket, which amounts to about 6 good shovelfuls of our sifted native soil. Now again, remember, every time we start a new project, we have to tweak this recipe. So for instance, our first batch on this project was way too wet. So we just cut back the amount of water we used, we increased our clay content, and added a few handfuls of straw in for good measure. And once it achieves a ball like you see me holding in my hand right there, we think we're pretty much ready to get going. So Yvonne says that when the mix looks like a cow pie, it should be the right consistency, and it looks good to her, so we're going to get started. The first thing she does is she uses a garden sprayer to wet down the straw bale. This will help the mix adhere to the straw. Using small handfuls, she's pushing it into the straw and going across the grain to get it to really bond with the substrate. The foreman, Chloe, comes over to make sure everything's going okay, and she has a watchful eye on things for sure. Now that the boss has taken off, Yvonne really kicks it into high gear. Applying small handfuls, making sure that it's bonding, and making sure that the straw bales stay moistened down with the water. Here you can see a little bit better the technique that she uses. The trick is not to have too much in your hand at one point in time. It's like a half a snowball is the amount that she pushes in. And the way to judge if it's working or not is to just take a look at the ground below the wall and see how much is actually adhering and how much is falling off. She had a good rate of success on these first couple walls here.
Alright, this is how far we got with our first 2 batches. So our first batch we mixed was a little bit too, there was a little bit too much straw in there. It's kind of tend to fall off a little bit, wasn't sticky enough, so we put it back in the mixer and put more clay in it. The second batch we did right away, more clay, and it's really sticking good. And the trick is also to do, small portions at a time. And right now you see it's kind of bumpy and stuff, but this is the first coat, and the importance is that this will stick to the wall and dry, and the second coat will smooth everything out, and then we can work with our tools and really get a smooth look and straight corners and all this stuff. But yeah, we're really happy so far with the mix we have, and our mixer is doing awesome.
One thing we did notice was that the preparation of the bales with the strapping material being fed underneath the bale twine really made for an easier coat of plaster. 2.5 hours into the process, including getting everything together, about 2 hours of actual mixing and cobbing, and it's moving along pretty good. Our mix is now getting fine-tuned. We needed a little more clay than we thought, and Yvonne is doing probably 80% of the cobbing, and I'm doing about 100% of the mixing and prepping of the materials. In a football analogy, I'm the front line and she is playing quarterback. And she's doing a great job. It's really coming along nicely. We figure it's 1 o'clock now, and we have this batch remaining. Let me see if I can get it in there for you. And we have one more batch that's already made. That should get us about halfway through the entire building. I have to go procure some more clay, and I have to chop some more straw. Okay, we're going to take a break now. This is what we got done in about 3 hours, I guess you could say. And we have run out of clay, so we have to head down to the wash and harvest some more clay. Morning, day 2. Let's get going. So here I'm using a new float that I have. Yvonne brought it back from Germany for me. It's about 12 inches by 18 inches, and it has a textured surface. And what I'm doing is trying to smooth out some of the larger, bumpier areas. Not trying to get it silky smooth, but just trying to prepare it so that it's a better surface to receive our second coat. Yvonne sprays it down for me every once in a while so that it glides nicely over that earthen plaster. This is the first time we've tried this technique, and While it's not 100% successful, it certainly didn't hurt. This is by far the most difficult part of the first coat of plaster. The wall where it meets the top rail and on a corner. This is the area where you really have to have patience and some finesse to get this done. You'll notice how Yvonne is packing the clay up underneath that 2x6, and that's going to aid in getting the lower portions of that clay to stick. Plus it'll provide a better seal overall for the wall.
I don't know if you can see the way it's pulling away from the barrel, but for us and our technique that we use for applying the earthen plaster, that's a good sign that the mix is ready to go. Last few touches, and the first coat outside is now complete. Took us about another 3 hours today, maybe 3.5. So total, we're looking at between 6.5 and 7 hours to do the first coat. And frankly, the first coat is always a little more difficult than subsequent coats. It's just, you got to make sure it sticks and that it's not pulling away from the straw anywhere.